go ahead and get started. It is 12:30. Um, Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Nagy, and I want to welcome you to Learn at Lunch. It's a monthly meeting to help parents have a better understanding of what their children are experiencing on social media and ways to help identify and manage harmful activity. Before I introduce today's speaker, a little background on our show sponsor, cybersafely.ai, is an AI scanning software developed to increase student safety on social media. When the AI identifies a potential issue, it sends an alert to the parents and any other predetermined recipient, who can then determine if further action needs to be taken. Today's speakers are Tim and Tamia Woods, founders of the Do It for James Foundation, a nonprofit organization that works with communities to increase awareness, provide support and education to both parents and children on crimes against students. Today, we will learn about suicide prevention and the steps to take to protect children when they're online. If you have questions for Tim and Tamia, please feel free to ask by typing your question using the chat feature in Zoom. We will hold all questions to the end of the meeting and go through each one at that time. I'm pleased to welcome and introduce you to Tim and Tamia Woods.
Hello, how are you all today? And thank you, Melissa, for that wonderful introduction. My name is Tamia Woods, and I am James Woods' father. And
Mother.
I'm sorry, I'm mother. I didn't have a sex change today. I am James Woods' mother, and
And I am Timothy Woods. I am James Woods' father, and good afternoon to all of you.
We are the co-founders of the Do It for James Foundation. And typically we go through and we get right into questions and our story. But today I want to start it a little different. I started off the day and really a lot of things are going through my mind. And one of those is the need and the push for mental health amongst our youth. We see a lot of firefighting that is being done on the other end, whether our kids end up dying by suicide or becoming addicted to drugs or alcohol. And yet we don't do enough to push to prevent those things from happening in the forefront. So I want to start today off with a call to action. And we need to be upfront. We need to stand together as one, as parents, as social workers, um, teachers, whatever you are, even as a trustworthy adult in this community, and take a big hold of our children. And so I want you all to think about it on the back end. And I'm going to put a couple of things that Tim and I have been talking about in our call to action. But we're going to end this meeting with a call to action from everybody. We want everyone's opinions on it, and we don't mind taking leadership on that and pushing forward. Some of the things that we already have talked about and are talking about, and I think we need to put a more emphasis on it, is suicide awareness, mental health amongst our youth, and encouragement of success. And when we say mental health, in regards to our youth, we want to make sure that we are making things like going to therapy or taking a break for themselves, even away from social media is okay. We need to normalize a lot of things that I think that we don't do a good enough job in as a whole. So with that being said, um, I know that there are a lot of things that you all as parents have done or have goals in regards to that. And Tim, we tend to think about and reminisce on a lot of the goals that James had. James wanted to be a lawyer. He wanted to make a difference. And we were creating an avenue for him to follow that goal. Another couple of things that Tim and I, we were present, we were aware. And I know you all are aware and present with your children as well. So Um, a lot of times we start off asking about social media apps. And I just want, by the show of hands, if you all can use your raise hand emoji, if you all know more than 10 social media apps that your children are using right now. If you can name 10. Okay. And many people cannot. And um, yeah, so I don't see any raise of hands. And I think that um I think before our story started and James' legacy has started, I don't think Tim probably could have.
I could. I use social media a lot. I'm on there for a lot of video games and comic books and stuff. So I knew a great deal of them. So I'm not the norm though.
Right. I couldn't. The only reason why I know is because of um what our new assignment has been, and it forced me to actually um become aware of these things. Did you all know that there is a social media app that presents itself as a calculator? It works like a calculator. If you look at it, it looks like a calculator. You can actually use it as a calculator. However, if you put a special code in that calculator, it opens up and there are hidden apps and hidden notes, hidden pictures that you can actually put in this actual app, calculator app. Raise your hand if you know about that. There's also a social media account by the name of Wiz. It's Wizz. This is actually a dating website that is promoted for teenagers only, and they call it a safe space for teenagers. And they promote kids dating each other on this app. This app is open to anyone from the ages of 24 all the way down to 14 years of age. Raise your hand if you know about that. Okay, got another question for you. Google, if you have a cell phone that you give to your children for whatever reason, we do not judge. James had a cell phone at a very young age. And your child is 12. Then your child actually turns 13. Raise your hand if you knew that Google will actually personally message your child individually, congratulate them on turning 13, and tell them that they do not no longer need parental consent and controls over their phone, and they give them an option to opt out without the parents' consent. Raise your hand if you knew about that. Yes. I got one more, and then we'll move forward. The social media apps are actually required to make reports to the Internet Crimes Against Children and the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children. If they see anything in the sense of any cyber crimes, including pornography and sextortion, or signs of human trafficking, trying to get those victims as well. How many of you all knew that Apple to date has not made one report? Not one report. So just to give you an idea on how harmful social media is, and we're not downing everything. There are a lot of pros in social media to get us out, to raise awareness, to educate. There are a lot of people behind these social media applications that are very, very evil. And We have 50,000 of these predators that log on every day, and their goal, their job, their main purpose is to go after our kids, whether it is for sextortion, for other financial scams, or to gain pornography for their own self-gratification, or to sell pictures, videos, or any other pornographic material of youth to the dark web. July alone, Instagram had deleted 63,000 accounts from Nigeria solely. And that is not the only place that's actually attacking our children. We even have people here who could be next door to you that are doing these crimes. 63,000 were deleted. We have to take a stance. We have to figure out a call to action and move forward, and not only continue to go after and raise awareness and do everything that we can, but just lift our kids up, love them, and do whatever we can to make sure that they have the proper resources to fight these crimes alongside us. So with that said, Tim,
Before we move on, I just want to point out that the things that she said are very important. You know, children, they look up to us as parents, they look up to us as teachers, principals, coaches. You know, there's certain people in children's lives that are put on a higher pedestal. And we have to understand that they look to us for answers to a lot of problems, even though sometimes they don't come to us with those problems. You know, they think that us as adults, you know, we got it made. You know, this is our world that they just live in. We tell them what to do all the time. And they don't understand that we're actually here to help them with whatever problems that they have. They just have to ask. And it's something that they don't understand. So us as parents, adults, teachers, guidance counselors, whoever, we have to know that we have to sometimes initiate a lot of conversations with children to get to a place where they don't have certain problems that can impact their lives drastically.
So Tim is going to really step back, and we're going to start from the beginning. We're going to tell you a little bit about our life and how we became one, and how we became a family of three, and how it led up to us being in front of you today. So we just want to, one, ask you all to have an open mind. Two, make sure that you ask questions, because we want you to be fully informed once you leave this actual webinar today. And three, let's just come together, let's raise awareness, and let's do everything that we possibly can to make sure that other people do not have the same story that we have in the future.
So I'm going to tell you about us, and I'm going to try to mostly center it around internet safety. Tamia and I, we got together in 2004, and we had our son in 2005. So, you know, it's not one of those long, drawn out processes that a lot of people go through to start a family and be together. We pretty much got together and we've been together ever since. Our anniversary actually is coming up.
You mean that we first met?
Well, no, our anniversary for marriage.
It was August 5th.
Yes.
It's not coming up.
So it's still here in my eyes. I live it every day. So I have a smile for a reason. But James, you know, he got here and we found out at a very early age, he likes video games, which was fine with me because I love them. I played them all day. I played them every day. You know, whenever I had free time, I was playing video games online or with my friends. You know, in the early 2000s, we still had to go to each other's houses to play video games. James, I'd throw him in his car seat and he'd ride with me. He was always there. He'd see everybody having fun. And as he got older, he started being able to walk. And next thing you know, he wants to play video games too. He feels like he's a big enough kid to do so. The internet takes over. We don't have to go over each other's houses anymore. We could just sit at home, log online, and we're playing video games with our friends. Still, James is right there. He saw that he could have fun playing with all these video games and he could meet new people and play with them at the same time. Now, him being a very young child, he didn't have access to the internet yet, but we still let him play the video games. And as he got older, we started letting him use my account to get online and play with other people. But I made sure he didn't have the headset so that he could communicate with them. And he didn't mind. He was just having fun being able to play video games with other people. Because James didn't have any brothers and sisters. We could only have one child, and he was him. He was that child. But he got online, he played with other people, he had fun, he had the biggest smiles all the time. You could hear him laughing and joking, and he had this laugh that was so infectious that you just had to go and see what he was laughing at because it made you feel warm to hear him having a good time. It was his whole childhood, online, laughing, joking, having a good time. He's just talking to himself. But as he got older, he got a cell phone also. Now, with the cell phone, there's another component to the internet there. The cell phone makes phone calls, it gets on the web, it lets him connect to whoever. We didn't see a problem with it. He had his phone, he'd get on and watch videos on YouTube all the time. And these videos that he was always watching and all these different chats, groups that he was in, they were the same ones that I used. So I always knew what he was doing. It didn't bother me. Not one bit. I never really had a concern. I would check his phone to see, his conversations. I'd listen to him while he's playing video games or talking on the phone to his friends. I never had a problem. Never had a problem. I don't think his mom did either. We talked about monitoring what he does all the time, but we never told him, James, that's an automatic no. Stop now. We didn't never have to have that conversation. Still, as he's getting older and older, he's going to school, he's meeting new people, he's gaining all these friends from the sports that he do. He's learning about different kids in his neighborhoods that he gets to hang out with. He has his family. He has a very large family because she has a lot of nieces and nephews at the time and cousins. James was friends with all of them. So the internet helped connect all of them together. They're all in group chats together. They're talking together. They're planning trips to hang out and visit. All these things he did over Xbox Live, over Discord, over YouTube, and just using his cell phone. Again, I was always there just listening to see what's going on, who he's communicating with, how they're communicating, the words they use, what are the topics, all these different things that parents listen to just so that they can make sure that their kid is safe. Again, I never had a problem with anything that James was doing. In my opinion, he did everything we told him to do. It was very rare that we'd say, don't do this, and he still did it. He wasn't that kind of kid. He was a good kid who went to school all the time. He got decent enough grades to where he wasn't in too much trouble. He participated in sports. He made friends everywhere he went, didn't matter how old they were or what part of life they were in. They were just new people to him. The phone that he had, he connected with all of them. They would text each other, they would do video chats, they send each other links to all the websites that they're on. He was just a normal kid. All these people that came across him, they were pretty much all just like him. They were young, impressionable children who needed a little bit of guidance. What kid doesn't? Even us as adults, we still need guidance a lot of times too. With James, he would come to us with questions that he couldn't find the answers to. And we show him how to find the answer and give him the answer also. He'd get online with his friends and he'd tell them, hey, he either send a text message or they're talking to each other, but he's always using the internet in some form of fashion. There was nothing wrong with that. We had no problems. I use the internet all the time. I'm always online playing video games. I'm always online on Instagram or TikTok, Facebook or YouTube, and all these other different sites. James pretty much followed the same sites that I did with his own little twist on them. A lot of stuff he had that I had, a lot of stuff he had I didn't have, but I always knew what he was doing, what he was watching, what he was listening to. So, in a sense, he was always being monitored, but we never had to look over his shoulder and ask him, hey, what happened on such and such a date? Or who were you talking to? Or any questions of any concern. He had the same passcode that I had on my phone. So I can always just go pick his phone up and just go through it. He never, not one time said, don't look at this, or let me see something first, or it was never any secrecy. He just willingly handed it over and said, yeah, whatever. And he went on about his business. He truly had nothing to hide. It's a beautiful thing. It was a lot of trust there that was given to him. And I like to believe that he earned that trust because, like I said, he was a good kid. He didn't cause us problems to where we was always down his neck saying, don't do this, don't do that, or what were you thinking? All our disagreements probably came from, hey, did you comb your hair today? Or, did you clean your room up like we asked you to? It was always something so minor. It was never anything of real concern. And us as parents, that made us happy because, who wants to be sitting there talking to their friends like, oh, my goodness, my kid this and my kid that. And, nobody likes that. We like to go and say, well, hey, my kid is a star athlete. They need him every meet that he runs in because he always scores points to help them win. He's a good motivator for all the other athletes. Everybody likes having him around. He's very intelligent. They look up to him, even though he's one of the youngest people there. All those good things is what us as parents like to say and talk about, not the negative. But with James, I could say there wasn't any negative to not talk about. All we had was nothing but praise for him. My wife, said that he wanted to study law. He wanted to be a lawyer. He wanted to help people. His whole childhood, that's what he did, was help people. And as an adult, he wanted to continue doing that. But we had no problem with that. I was going to go to work my 80 hours a week to help pay for his schooling. And my wife was going to work her hours at her job to help pay for his schooling. And we was going to make sure he went into the world with a clean slate. We didn't want him to have any debt. We told him he could stay here and live with us as long as he needed to, up to a certain point. We did tell him that if certain things in your life start happening, you would have to move out, but we weren't worried. We knew that he was going to leave when he was ready and he wasn't going to be a burden to us while he was here. We wanted the best for him and he knew this. We told him all the time, we're proud of you. We got your back. We'll do this for you. A lot of times he'd come to me and say, hey, Dad, can I have or can you do such and such for me? I tell him yes. It was very rare that I'd say no. His mother, the same way. He'd always do anything she could for him. James knew that his parents, to me and myself, would do anything for him. He knew that we supported his decisions. He knew that we wanted him to have the best in life, that we were looking for him to succeed. He knew all these things, plus some. He knew we truly cared about him. We have pictures of him up in the house, pictures of just him. We loved our child, and he knew that. But it turns out, though, the world, they don't care who we love. The world has their own agenda. Everyone, even the people in attendance. You have family members, people that you like and love, your friends, people that you work with. But at the end of the day, the number one rule in history for human life is self-preservation. People are going to always look out for their best interests at some point. It's just the way it is. But sometimes people's best interests aren't good. There are evil people out there. And those people also use this internet that James grew up on. Those people also use the same internet that I've been playing on my whole life. These people aren't good people. They're evil. They're malicious. They're dastardly. There's so many different adjectives that can be used to describe the wickedness that is in people these days. A lot of them, like my wife stated, 50,000 pedophiles online at any given time every day. That's a lot of people. I'm sure while I'm online playing video games, there's a lot of people in those chats while I'm talking on my headset. They're scanning the crowd, listening just so that they could find underage people that they could privately message. I know that's happening. ICAC tells us that that happens. The FBI tells us that that happens. NetMake tells us that that happens. But what can I do about that as a singular person? I could just talk to whoever's willing to listen and let them know, hey, these people are out there. Protect your children. Monitor who they associate with. Tamia and we made sure we did that with Jay. There's a lot of times I go in his room, I'd unplug his headset just to hear who he's talking to. He's talking to his friends. I knew all of them just about. There was maybe one or two that I didn't know, but as time went on, I gained James's not trust, but the knowledge of the people who he knows, the people who he associates with. He say, "This is such and such," and I'm like, "Oh, well, nice to finally meet you. I heard a lot about you." They were all good kids. I can't tell James, hey, this person is someone you shouldn't associate with because he never associated with those people from the start. All the people in his circle were good kids. Some of them were a little older, some were a little younger, but most of them were all his age. They were all in the same age bracket. We never had adults trying to befriend them. We never had people trying to tell them, hey, if you come hang out with me, I'll, do whatever, or I'll get you whatever. You never had people saying, hey, what's your cash app so I could send you money? It was never, hey, send me some pictures, or you should hang out with us, cut school with us, or it was never anything of the sort. I'm going to say it again. James was a good kid. We loved him, and he knew that. These people online didn't care. They attacked him. They contacted him on Instagram direct messaging. I use Instagram direct messaging. I send my wife videos and pictures all the time. She sends me some all the time. I used to send James videos all the time. But the people that attacked him on this one particular day, November 18th, shortly after 7 p.m., didn't have his best interests at heart. They were there to cause harm to him. But he didn't know this. We talked to James about all these different things about what to do, how to act, who to associate with. Sorry. But this one particular topic was something that escaped us. We never talked to him about sextortion and how people try to trick you into doing things online and get you into compromising positions. This is one of those topics we never got to talk about because it was something I personally never experienced. And it was probably something my wife never experienced either. I'm not sure. So if it's something we've never gone through, something we've never heard about, how will we know to talk about it with them? Because we talked about him, talked to him about all the other things like alcohol, drugs, girls, boys, cars, driving too fast, breaking the law, vandalism, all these different things. He listened to all of it. But this one topic, we were foreign to. And when they contacted him, I'm sure they could realize right away that this was something that he wasn't well versed in, knowledgeable wise. They talked to him. He entertained the conversation. He talked back to him. Eventually, they got him to go to a private location so that they could get on video chat together. While they're on video chat, the young woman that he was in this chat with, she exposed herself. And then after she did so, she asked him to do the same thing. James didn't think anything of it. He just figured, why not? Because a lot of times, us as people, even adults, we'll see someone else do something, and it might be something we might have been scared to do or partake in. But after we see someone else do it and see no harm involved in it, it lowers our guard. Same thing happened to James. When she exposed herself to him unclothed, He thought, what's the harm in this? I see nothing wrong here. She did it first. I'm comfortable with this person. I think I know her well enough. She seems like a good person. Well, he exposed himself to this person. Then she asked for his phone number. Shortly after, he received a message. And in his message, it was a picture of himself, unclothed, fully exposed. And you could see him in the picture. The caption said, "This is you in all of your glory. I'm going to share you with the world." Now, him never having dealt with anything of this magnitude before, didn't know what to think or what to do. And he even asked, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why do you want to do this to me?" And the person told him that we're going to share you with the world. We're going to post your picture all over all social media sites. And then they started to name them: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Discord, so on and so on. It was a long list. James didn't know what to think. He didn't know what to do. And I'm not sure how he would react it if this was something that we talked about, but he chose the path of continuing conversation with them. He wanted to know what he could do to make them leave him alone, because they kept sending him message after message after message, telling them how they were going to destroy his life. He didn't know what to think, know what to do. He didn't know who to talk to. Because again, I told you, we never had this conversation with him before. This was something new. And James is a person who likes to figure out problems. He'll try to fight through whatever it is before he says something. So when he saw us later that night, he didn't say anything to us. We talked to him like we always do. We had our conversations, we laughed, we joked, but he never said nothing to his mother or I about what was going on before we got home that night. So eventually we go to bed. I have to go to work in the morning. I have to be to work at 5 a.m. James, he doesn't. It's the weekend. He's going to go and play video games with his friends or go to sleep or whatever. I don't know. But usually he's up playing video games. When I woke up 4 o'clock in the morning, I took a shower, got dressed, came downstairs, and there's my son sitting at the island eating cereal with his phone in his hand, wide awake and fully dressed. I didn't think nothing of it because, like I said, he's usually playing video games at that time of day. And I have to tell him, "James, you need to go to sleep." Or he woke up really early to play with his friends. And I tell him, "James, this is too early. Why are you up this early?" But today, on this Saturday, November 19th, his mother and he were on their way to a college fair. James was going to be picking out what school he was going to attend for college. And I just talked to him and told him, "Hey, I'm proud of him." I gave him a lot of encouraging words and all these different things. But I told him at least 4 or 5 times how proud of him I was. I let him know that he was off to do good things in this world. I looked at him as a better version than myself. I was so happy. I was so proud. I was full of joy. I was exuberant. It was just all these big words that you could think of that put this smile on my face every time I thought about my son that day. And I still have that smile talking to him. I mean, talking about him now. I went to work. I'm working. I'm not having fun, but I still got a smile on my face. Yeah, I got off work at 6 p.m. that evening, made a few phone calls, and I was on my way home. I got home after stopping at the gas station to pick up a few snacks shortly after 6:30. I get there, there's a light on that I can see from outside. No problem. I go in the house and I go to where the light is after I take care of the dogs. I open the door to that room and I see my son sleep on the floor. I didn't think nothing of it because I found him sleep in all these different weird places around the house, which includes the hallway, on the stairs, the kitchen floor. It's nothing for me to see him sleep in a weird place in a weird position. But this particular time, when I saw my son, I could see that he wasn't asleep after I stepped completely into the room. I could see that my son is no longer here. He's no longer among the living. Uh, I didn't know why. I didn't know what to think. I thought he was having a good day all day. I had even contacted him shortly after noon just so that I could remind him about a haircut that he had to go and get. And he went and got his haircut this Saturday. It was a good day and a bad day at the same time. I just didn't know it until I got home and found that my son was no longer among the living. His life force was extinguished. I didn't have any answers on why. I didn't have any answers on what could have happened. I had nothing, nothing. And then I had to pull out my phone after sitting there crying on my son's chest for a few minutes and make a phone call. I had to let my wife know that the only child that we would ever have is no longer here. And yeah, that turned out to be the worst day of my life and the hardest thing that I ever had to do. This was November 19th of 2022.
James received 200 messages in 19 and a half hours from 4 different people, 3 over in the Ivory Coast and 1 here in America. They had said things that you cannot even imagine, including that he would be labeled pedophile, that he was going to jail, that he will no longer have a future, that he better not block him because they'll find him anyways. They'll keep going after him. And they told him, like, you're mine. I own you. And they said that to him over and over and over. It's one of the text messages that was sent to James. This is just one of them. I am determined to rot your life, then to make it a waste, a trash can, a dishonor, a shame, a hell, a real disaster, a hell on earth. And also I remind you that I am heartless. I have no pity to rot a life as well as yours. That was one of the 200 messages. And we give our kids these phones, and it seems to me like sometimes we're at a lose-lose situation because we want to know the well-being of our child. We want to know that they actually made it home safe when we're at work. We want to make sure that they have an emergency way to contact anyone in a chance of an emergency. And we want them to be able to be just kids. That was James' assignment. That was James' job. He didn't have a job. His job was to go to school and be a good person and succeed as a child and enjoy life. And for the most part, that happened. But on November 18th, they began to take it away. And on November 19th, they took it away forever. My son can no longer enjoy the growth, the world, the beauty that this world has because of the predators online. And we're not here to say that we are flawless parents because we are not. We are not. But one thing that we did was fill our child with love. We told him he was amazing, that he could do whatever he wanted to do. And in 200 messages, 19 and a half hours that was taken away from us. Taken away. And that is not fair. That is not fair. And although we sometimes question why were we chosen as the parents to have and bear such heartache and pain. Our only child was taken away from us. That is why we are here, and we understand that we have to sit in front of you and use our our everything, our heart. Make sure that we remain vulnerable with you all so you can learn through us, so that you can raise awareness, so you can teach your child that it is okay to make mistakes, that I have your back 100%. I will get you through it. It is okay that you may not have known what sextortion is, but we know now. We know now, and we're going to make sure that you are aware of these evil, evil people that want to take harm on our children for their own self-gratification and for our monetary gain. We are not only battling these pedophiles, we are battling the greed that is out there to make money. And these people are very slow. The people who create social media apps, Google, the CEOs of Metaverse, Snapchat, TikTok, they all want more and more money. And that is why they are hesitant to become one with us to make sure that our children are protected. We actually had the backing. We backed up Lieutenant Governor John Husted here in the state of Ohio, and we passed unanimously a law that was Social Media Parental Act and require all social media applications to get permission from the parents in order to give anyone under 16 access to their social media app. It passed unanimously. And when it was due to take effect, we got sued by a company called NetChoice, who represents Snapchat and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all those other things. And our federal government sided with them because their argument was that we were eliminating and taking away the First Amendment rights of our children, and that was not right to them. So we sit in front of you and we want to make sure that we answer questions. We want to make sure that you all fully understand the battles that we have and how we can work together to help protect our children, because they need us all. They need every single one of us in order to be our age. My son didn't get to graduate high school. Our son didn't get to set records that he was on pace to set. It was no doubt he was going to break records his senior year in high school. It was no doubt he wanted to go to college. It was no doubt that he wanted to be and continue to be a blessing amongst the people who he touched. So we want to make sure that we have enough time. It's only 15 minutes left. And we want to make sure that we answer questions, and we can incorporate some things that we know if you all don't have any. But do we have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you need? What is your very first need that you see and your barriers? Because the fact that you had the support, and then when it goes to voting, that is taken away, that progress. I just think that, so that will keep going, like, right? You got to keep going and get that passed. But so what is your biggest barrier that you're facing with your organization and your messaging now?
We have.
I know you have a list.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
Have a list. So this is my take, and Tim will give his opinion, but this is my take. So I definitely think that we need to pass laws, but I think that that takes time. I think that we need to get in front of our children and make sure that they hear this message as well. And it's twofold. So James went to no one. James went to absolutely no one when he was battling this in a 19.5 hour span, which is extremely fast according to us. but a long time in internet world, okay? But James was one who lasted one of the longest when you look at victims who actually became a victim to sextortion and then died by suicide. Most or your average people actually only last 6 to 8 hours. And we actually have two personal people that we work hand in hand with a lot who are forever friends. One, her child lasted 23 minutes, 27 minutes, and another lasted an hour and 42 minutes. So we have to make sure that our kids know that there are resources available to them to help them out of it. And we are big on getting in front of the kids. We have tip cards that we created for them. It gives them exactly what to do. We teach the kids how to identify if they're actual victims, and what to do after that. But the problems and the barriers that we have is we go after grants, and our foundation is only a year and a half old. Our son will only have been gone for 2 years come November. And a lot of times they want your foundations to be in existence for 3 years. So they look at it at our foundation as maybe a temporary thing or a fad. So you have that. So we're coming up with barriers on that. And we're working through them. We're going to get through them because we're here to stay.
Right.
But that, and when we go into schools, there is a fee that isn't accrued, and since we don't have grants, we have to charge that because it's very important for we usually have a tip card on us, but it's very important for the kids to get this tip card, because when they're not comfortable with speaking to other people, on the back of the tip card, it actually has a reference on, and if you can see, it's a website on the back of it where they can actually self-report. It also has the number 988. So if they're ever thinking about suicide, we want them to just think of this card and use it. And it actually has been done. The FBI of Cleveland has reported back to us that these tip cards are actually working and people are actually using them. So that's where majority of the money that we charge for goes. So that is the battle with us, because I need to talk to your kids. I need to get in front of your kids, because we all know, especially with victims, especially with sexually assaulted victims, less than 30% of them actually speak up and tell somebody. And that is a female statistic. So you're not worried about, we're not talking about kids. We're not talking about men. We're talking about a female adult, less than 30% actually speak up. So imagine if someone thinks that they did something wrong. Imagine if they actually, like James willingly exposed himself online, so he did know that maybe he did make the best decision, during that time. But sometimes, like with us, we're older. And when we made a mistake, we had a chance to process it. We didn't have 4 people, 200 messages, and 19 and a half hours to play with that. So that's my long story short answer to you.
So on your outreach,
mhm.
are you focused, what geographical area are you
Where-
looking for, or all over, or how does that look like? Because funding is received by geographical areas.
Right. So funding, we're going after in individual areas, but we're not focused on one geographic area. So we are national. We've been all the way to California, Maryland, Texas. We've been everywhere because these targets are not geographically structured, like one geographic. We have to make sure that everyone is aware of this situation. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, your economic background, where you're from. They are attacking us at an alarmingly high rate. And so we're trying to basically battle the world in this one foundation. And I mean, we're doing it. We're reaching millions and millions, but we
Right.
still got a long way to go. Tim, I'm sorry, I tend to talk a lot.
Uh, I would say it's a lot of hurdles that we actually do have. The one she hit on is a big one because we do need to get in front of people, but it does take money to get in front of people. And a lot of times schools they don't understand that. They know that they're tax exempt for the things that they do and whatnot, but they think that everybody that's a nonprofit actually gets grants and whatnot and has money that's disposable to come and speak to kids whenever they want them to. They don't understand that there is actually fees that we have to pay to be able to do what we do.
Yeah.
One of my biggest problems is actually parents. So when we go to speak to the children, we offer to speak to the parents of those schools also. And the parents, for some reason, they don't show up. They think that, oh, my kid, they're too smart for this, or I don't have to worry about that, or oh, that's a Cleveland problem. We don't have to worry about that in Toledo. It's just all these different mindsets that's holding them back, making their children more vulnerable to whatever is out there.
Yeah, and just to add on, I'm sorry, Frank, and we'll get to you in just 2 seconds, but just to add on to that, like a lot of parents, especially when we came out and said what happened to James, they said it was James' fault.
Or our fault.
Or yeah, they blamed us too. They said we didn't create an avenue for James to actually speak to us. They said, well, that's him. He was stupid for sharing himself online. Or they tend to blame our kids and expect our kids to have a high intelligence on something that they're just not there yet. So
That
it's
is,
a lot.
those comments, when that occurs, is just the ignorance of what needs for education. It's just verification that they don't have the information, and it's not my kid, it's not this, it's
Yeah.
so you guys are doing amazing things, and
Thank you.
that's
Yeah,
the difference that
I-
will
I-
be made is awareness among the kids. Those kids are frightened and have nowhere to go, and it isn't just James, it's every teen. They don't go to their parents. They don't.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, I admire the two of you. It's amazing to me that you can sit on here and have this conversation. It's incredible. I mean, I'm virtually weeping as I sit here and listen. And I think for us in the work that we're trying to do, what you just said is mind-boggling to me. I mean, Blaze kind of addressed it too. It's crazy to me that these parents know this is going on, and the educators that I meet with and we talk to, they know it. They love the things that you're doing and we're trying to do and others are trying to do. But then when it comes time to act, everyone crawls into a shell. And I go back, so I'm older, and I will tell you that I long for the days when somebody bullied me live, right? Face to face. And I go back to grade school and everything, whether it was anti-Semitic or it was whatever it was at the time. Well, I could stand there and I could hit back.
Physically.
This whole thing, yeah, this and get my butt kicked probably too. But this whole thing it's mind-boggling to me. And I love hearing you guys talk, and we hear all these other people. We try to do this stuff to educate, but I don't know what it's going to take to get people to, I mean, whether we slap them in the head or something to wake up and say, seriously, you may not know it, but your kid is doing it. I laugh. I met with someone once and they said, oh, our kid does, we don't have, they don't have cell phones or they don't have whatever. I said, well, do they have an iPad? Well, yeah, she's in her room doing her homework on her iPad. It's like the ignorance of technology. And again, it's also a generational thing. I think that we have to educate people on what this technology is doing and the horror of what it is. And again, my kids are older. They didn't have social media when they were in high school or junior high. These kids are starting in elementary school. And you're right, this predator thing, I mean, we all know who's getting scammed financially, but sextortion is ridiculous, and it's all over the world. So I just want to say I admire you, and what you did, what you shared is worth $1 billion. $1 billion.
No, thank
you.
We just want like everybody to just truly learn from us. You know, our heart breaks like every day. Like James is amazing. And yet we have to deal with the reality that, we can no longer create new memories with James. Um, and that sucks, man. That sucks because we rely on that. Um, and that's why we smile. That's why we do when we even hear James' voice, because James is just amazing in every way. And of course we're biased, but there's other people behind us who've met him. And but we just want people to understand, if it happened to us, what about the broken homes? What about the single parents? What about the foster kids? What about all of these other kids that truly need us? I mean, you guys, like when we talk to kids, message us and tell us thank you. I mean, they say, we've never been told that I matter before. Thank you for doing that to us. Like, we try to instill love in them because they don't hear it. So when you have somebody, just think about it. If they were able to attack James and break him down, which anybody could, even an adult. If you have four different people and spewing negativity, and I use an example way left, it's way left, but it's something that adults can actually relate to or understand. If you were married to someone, and for instance, me, and someone comes online and they have this picture of Tim, and it could be AI generated or whatever, but it's Tim. It looks like Tim. And they proceed to send me 200 messages about how he said I was nothing, that person looked better than me, that he's going to leave me or whatever. And it was 200 messages. By the end of that 200th message, am I going to still 100% believe in Tim, or am I going to get a divorce? And that's how we have to look at it. That's how people can play with our minds to make us feel a certain way or believe a certain way. And especially if it's consistent without any breaks. On a kid that has the frontal lobe is not fully developed. Our kid, James, he was probably up about 40 hours because he woke up for school on Friday, and their tactic was to keep him up all night as long as they could. So therefore, you can't make great decisions when you're sleep deprived. It's so many things, and it's so deep that they actually do to our children to make them send money. But then a lot of them take their own lives. It's crazy. I mean, I could preach all day. We'll be on here for the rest of the evening.
Keep doing it.
Because it's so much. I ask people all the time too. We expect our kids, oh, just block them. Just block them. Why do we say that? Why do we say just block them? But we block spam calls all the time, and we still get more spam calls. So why do we think that our kid can block somebody one time and they won't come after them again?
Oh, they
But
will.
we don't think, because we're not criminals. So first, we're not going to think the way a criminal thinks. But when we break it down, we're like, you're right. You're right. So we tell kids to block, but then tell somebody. Because then that page can get shut down. If you report it, then that page can get shut down. And don't be afraid to warn your friends, because somebody may have, and we will never know. It could have been somebody who went after James' friend first, and James' friend they either fell victim but didn't die, or they or they blocked them, but then nobody told James, and then it ended in James' hands. So we have to make this just how we talk about staying away from drugs, stay away from alcohol, stay away from people who don't make the greatest decisions. Try to do as best as you can. But if you make a mistake, I'm here for you. We also have to incorporate sextortion into it, because a lot of people don't realize sextortion actually can lead to human trafficking. It can lead to cyberbullying, suicides, child pornography, sextortion, or just having people have the access to our children at an alarming rate can lead to so many other crimes that are just detrimental to not only our son who's no longer here, but to Tim and Tamia, who has to wake up every day with the reality that we can no longer feed our child. We can no longer tell him dinner is ready. We can no longer ask him how his track meet was or be there to scream on. Like, we can no longer do those things. It all affects us. Even if the child doesn't die from being a victim, it's still a mental damage that has been done on our child that they may even need therapy afterwards. We in us as adults, we may need, we need that too. Because it plays, especially you fathers out there. Think about somebody was able to actually attack your kid, and you guys feel like it's my job to protect my family, and somebody else got to my kid. I mean, it's so many things and damage that is done to us over us not even being aware of a lot of the cyber bullies, the cyber um, uh, criminal activities that they have. And so we're not saying that we'll ever know everything that is being done. And like they say, what's the statistic? The statistic is criminals are always, I think it's 6 steps ahead of law enforcement officers. So we're going to always play catch up. But we have to, you know, we were chosen to be one of the first that actually were affected by this, but under our watch, we're going to do everything that we can and make sure that it doesn't affect somebody else.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Very eye-opening.
Yes. Do we have any? I know it's 1:32, but we're willing to stay if you all have any other questions, or it's up to you, Melissa, if you're okay with that. But
Yeah, if there's any other questions, we can go ahead and take them.
I have to go.
okay,
Nobody
thank you,
else?
Frank.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
I have
welcome.
one
you.
I
question.
hope to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I'll be around for a while.
I know. I know where you are.
I do have one question because, and I have to jump on another meeting, but yesterday I was driving and I heard a pretty interesting statistic about suicide, that everyone's perception is usually that that person has mental illness. And what they actually reported was that only 47% of suicides are caused because of mental illness. I grant write, so I always look at these as verification. Does anything exist that shows what social media, sextortion, or bullying has? Do you have any of that kind of information, or is it something, because I research all the time, so it's just interesting to me because that is power for your grant writing.
Yeah, we don't have any of that necessarily. That's something you could get online and find.
Well, she's saying, do we
But-
have any on we don't
But
have
we
it.
don't. Yeah, we
Okay.
Not
don't.
yet. Not
So,
yet.
so our website, we're still building it. So we're the type of people that build it as we fly,
Yep.
and we're constantly adding new things to our website as far as links that lead to other groups that specialize in certain things, and pictures and all the things that we've done in the community. We're still building it. So eventually, at some point, hopefully soon, we will have a link to all these different things as far as mental health is concerned.
Yeah,
So I
we're
don't
working.
even think it exists. That's why I'm saying this. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone has segmented
Mm,
areas to where that is. So I was just curious if
it's
any.
not.
Yeah, I don't think it does either,
Yeah.
because we're an older group, right? So we were raised that suicide was a coward move, right? And so now we're looking at things and we even pointed out in our situation, like James had zero depression issues. He had zero signs of suicide. Zero. When I say zero, zero. But he had every sign when he passed away. So in 19 and a half hours, they instilled these suicidal thoughts because they created them. So just to give you an example, James had told him that he didn't have a job, that, his job was basically to be a student. And then they asked him for $6,000 and said, "Where's my money?" And made him feel like he owed him the money. So they had that unemployment factor, right? Which you know that a lot of people who have passed have that unemployment, or the isolation. So they told him he was going to go to jail because they have child pornography and he was going to go to jail. Well, then that's where they created the isolation for him to report to law enforcement officers, because he felt like he was the criminal, right? Why would I go to a police station and tell them that I did criminal activity and go to jail? So he didn't. I could go on and on a lot of the different things that they had instilled in him in such a short period of time. And it goes to show everything. Like we don't connect, where even when it leads, it may not lead to suicide, it may lead to drug abuse or alcohol abuse, right? But we don't realize that there are other things that lead people that way. Of course, you have your 47% that have mental illnesses, and we're not ever disregarding those things, because that is very important. But we have to realize that that's an alarming percentage, right? Over half, 53% are taking their own lives, and it's due to other situations. We just don't know. I think a lot of people, especially in our youth, if I forget the percentage that it has increased since 2022, with the amount of our young babies actually taking their own lives. The second cause of death between 12 and 15-year-olds and 18 and 24-year-olds are suicide. And I think for 15 to 17, it is it's the third cause of death. So we have to really take these things into consideration and really be preventers instead of firefighters. We start putting more effort into preventing a lot of these things from happening, then we can have a lot less on the back end.
Well, it all starts with awareness and the need, right? So people will
Yes.
be saying, okay, and you're doing that. There's nothing more important. This is new area, new data that needs to fuel funding to get you out there more. So that's why I asked that, but your voice is the most powerful thing that could be offered. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing. Really,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, we just got to get in front of more people.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Like I said, we've only been in business a year and a half, almost 2 years, and most grants, they pretty much all tell you in there they want you at least 3 years.
Yeah, you shook your head when we said the three.
You know
Do
what?
that, please.
I've
Yes.
started in
Yeah,
those
so
nonprofits and it's like, oh, they'll give you money once you have it. But,
Yes.
but
but you know
we're
what
not
though?
gonna give you money while you need it.
I could understand that though.
Yeah.
It's hard to just give money away to someone and you think they're going to just waste it away. So
Well,
I could understand why they want you to be more established before they want to partner with you and help you along your cause. But at the same time, I wonder how many companies and nonprofits and whatever went under just because they didn't have proper funding to help keep them going.
oh, that's right. So no, I hear you talk and I just want to, what I'm gonna do is put just a quick email together of the things that started funding at grassroots levels.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I'm the walking person of what not to do and how I learned. That's my learning, is because so there's simple things. There's simple things like who you can speak in front of that also funds you. So you know, things like that. But anyway, the alliance with Cyber Safely is a wonderful one because they're starting up too, and the joint message that this is needed is it's really a good fit. But I will send you something with some ideas, and that's what I can do. I just go,
Thank
okay,
you.
that's why I ask, what do you need? And what can I do? I can connect you with people or something, but Cyber Safely is a good fit for mutually beneficial messaging.
Yeah, well,
Thank
we'll greatly appreciate that, and I will tell you, we will read every single thing you send
Very
us.
good. Very good. They work.
So
What I'm sending you will work.
yeah. So before we leave, because I know it's 1:40 now, but in the beginning, I asked for us to come up with some call to action ideas, and I gave you all some of the things that we had created. And I was wondering if you all had came up, if you could put it in the chat, or if you can say it all over the Zoom, some of the things that you would like for us all to work on together as a village. Do we have any other ideas?
Yeah, it takes a village to raise people. So if everybody works together in some form of fashion, everybody comes out better in the long run.
Thank you, Sophia.
I think a lot of people might have already jumped off, but
Yeah.
if I do get questions in the coming days, I will definitely forward those over to you as well.
Yep. Send them over. We read everything.
Yeah. And Melissa, we'll send you over our survey. If you can send it out for people to actually fill out as well, we would greatly appreciate it.
Definitely, we can do that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hopefully everybody found this as informative as I know I did. My 11-year-old son, I'll be talking to him later today.
Good.
It's definitely one of those video game kids and always on his devices. So I'll be
Mhm.
checking those.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the way of life now. So we got to accept it.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing everyone again next month. The next one will be Wednesday, September 25th at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Our speaker will be Dr. Sean Roth. An email with more information will go out next month about mid-September. So from all of us at Cyber Safely, we want to say thank you for being here with us again today. And until we meet again, stay safe and have a great September.
Thank you. Thank you, Blizzy.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.